Was having a bit of an issue on my end, but we are all good to roll. It's the PRA Vision Corsa IndyCar Racing Series presented by the Prodigy Racing Association. Let's get things rolling here. We'll start first with our roster for today. Let's see the drivers we'll have out on the track. Robert Hensley will drive the 00 with Daniel DeRozzo in the 2. It's the 06 driven by Zach Lesenby. Roger Saucier in the 7. Danny Ray in the 08. Matthew Bird, the number 9 car. We've got Joe Nurton in the 10, Ben Zahn in the 11, Marlo Duncan the 12, Jimmy Sallow the 14, Bob Gangwer the 15, and Aaron Fontaine in the 18. David Nannon will join us from the Sunset Bend Street Stock Series and head on over to IndyCar in the 21. Adam Miller's got the 25 with Kyle Deckard in the 26. Micah Mixer in this series as well drives the 28. Rodney Roberts the 29. Christopher Mullins in the 32. Alex Jones pilots the 45. Guillermo Perret in the 52. Nick Russell the 53. Nick Polliard the 55. Andy Zal's in the 69. James Nias the 71. Matthias Marcumini in the 77. Jacob Schneider in the 81. Austin LeBlanc in the 111. Spencer Torrance the 120. Ali Chastain the 136. Brad Marath in the 384. And Paul Boomershine in the 925. Right now we have 11 drivers who have entered into this race, and hopefully we'll get to see more pile in as this practice session goes live. It looks like this will be the first time we'll get to see Matthew Bird on the track for this season. Good to see that. We've already seen David Nannon, who's currently having some trouble out there on the track, as well as Matthias Marcumini. As for why that may be, well, let's have a look at our schedule and see what's on the docket. It's the Indy Road Course. Among the more infamous tracks as far as, at the very least, the special events in iRacing are concerned. Man, the 6 hours of Indy are brutal. And it is no different in the IndyCar series. Open wheel racing, this track will bite and hard. There's already been a lot of spin-outs, plenty of off-tracks to go around, and a lot of trouble for these drivers. And we'll see how that trouble may manifest itself as we continue on with both the practice session and in the race itself. We had someone who went into a full-on slide like we're in a drift league. We're not in a drift league, though. Looks like everything's up and running. Good to see everyone piling in. Let's have a look at our standings for today. Marlo Duncan, even after a lackluster performance last week with Micah Mixer absent, Marlo Duncan takes the lead by 10 points in this series. We've had a crash here at turn 1. Interesting. Micah Mixer in second at the moment. Alex Jones moves up to third with Nick Polliard and Aaron Fontaine rounding out the top 5. Jimmy Sallow, Joe Nurton, James Nias, Matthias Marcumini, and Spencer Torrance in the top 10. With Marlo Duncan already doubling up on the 10th position in the series. 11 through 20, we've got Rodney Roberts, who currently sits at 11. It's Kyle Deckard, who moves up to 12th. Bob Gangwer in 13th with a nice amount of points. Zach Lesenby, in his recent introduction to the series, up to P14 at the moment with 44 points to his name. Adam Miller's got 15 position at the moment with 41. And is he in this race? I don't believe so. Not at the moment. I do not see him. I don't see Nick Russell either or Christopher Mullins. Danny Ray is in this race at the moment, 10th on the track with out of 11 drivers, 18th in the standings. Robert Hensley and David Nannon tied for 19th, but I have a feeling that's going to change after today. After that, the final positions on the board, Andy Zal, Roger Saucier, and Ali Chastain at 21st, 22nd, and 23rd for the season. There are a lot of drivers who are spinning out right now. One more thing to note, as has been confirmed earlier today, Aaron Fontaine will not be participating in the race and will thus get last place provisional points for this race, keeping him in a comfortable spot and competitive within the league while not able to participate this time around. And one more time, looking at the schedule, we're on the Indy Road Course for today. It's the Indy Oval next week, our first race in the month of April. We'll go to Talladega for the All-Star race on the 14th. Then Mid-Ohio, Iowa Speedway, Detroit, Pocono Raceway, Barber, and Michigan. Something to note about the Pocono Raceway, I will not be present for the Pocono Raceway race. I will be out of town, out of state even, and will not have access to my streaming equipment. And so that race, I'm not sure if someone's going to be able to cover, possibly, If not, do know that we will do our best to recap the race as best we can with the information that we gain from it. And with all that being said, we need to find someone on the track to follow. So let's have a look at Bob Gangwer, and let's get on over to the track here. Bob Gangwer right now in 9th position in the lobby. Does need to, of course, record a lap. Is taking his sweet, sweet time. Ends up taking the bump by turn 1. Nice and easy he'll go, and we'll get the audio up and rolling so you can hear these cars rumble. The Pabst Blue Ribbon livery out in force for Bob Gangwer. He pilots the number 15 car, trying to continue climbing up the standings, and the more races you can make, the better you're going to do in that regard. Micah Mixer, the road course king, unfortunately lost his crown for a perfect season, unable to make it to the race last week, the oval race, which saw so much drama, so much, just an unfathomable amount of drama. I don't believe I have one of the things set up, and it will be down for today. There's no fish. For those on my personal stream, no fish. Also, Winter Lol. Thank you for the follow. Thank you very much. As well as X-Zone Fire. I think I missed that. We have Racing Cupcake, who followed the stream less than 12 minutes ago. What are you doing? Good to see you. Pleasure to have you along. You should have been followed before then. But, you know, you are now, and we're happy you are. It's going to be a little bit interesting. The chat at the moment is way away from us. It's going to be interesting to read. Bad viewing angles and whatnot. Bob Gangwer gets his first lap on the board. He's currently in 8th position, putting down a 1:19.588. I can do math. Yippee. Nick Pollard is in the session now. Good to see. Good. We're getting more and more drivers, so we like to see that. Unfortunately, right now, Pollard not on the track, as well as Danny Ray. And Ray about to head onto the track, as we will have a look at who is that on the straightaway. It's Matthias Marcomini. Currently has the 5th best lap on the board. It's James Nias, who currently leads the practice session. 1:13.037. It's Matthew Bird, actually, who's right behind him. Matthew B. Bird piloting the number 9 in 2nd position. We'll get a look at how he's running. Ooh, that's a nice-looking livery. Okay. Ooh, Kuba's in the session. I don't believe Kuba will be racing, though. From what I read, Kuba will be eyes in the sky to assist for Rodney Roberts should he not make it after the ordeal he had to go through at work. Oh, no! A little bit of a rear wheel tap there from Bird, and both cars are slowing down. This is a little bit dangerous here. Trying to get out of the way so Marlo Duncan doesn't get stuck in the traffic, and does do just that. Keeping on rolling is Bird, and Duncan had a spin. And nearly just took out Alex Jones, but thankfully did not. These drivers are struggling big time to start this race, to say the least. Double check everything, make sure I know exactly what's going on here for this race today. Matthew Bird a little bit scared. That's valid. You're allowed to be scared. We get it. It is a bit intimidating, and I can tell you firsthand, secondhand, and thirdhand, it is in fact terrifying, and it feels so demoralizing when you know you're the reason that someone else can't race anymore. I ended at least one race in my time in IndyCar. I think that was season 2. That's kind of a story that I always tell during these streams, because these drivers put down way more skill than I've ever had, to put it simply. So Danny Ray still in pit lane. Here's David Nannon climbing up the board, now up to 8th with a 1:16.379. Getting a little bit more comfortable in the driver's seat is Nannon. Typically a stock car racer. Was alongside Daniel Blanco in their time, assisting the Prodigy Racing Association with the Sunset Bend Street Stock Series. That was a fun little challenge that they had. Get a bunch of road courses you don't normally see the stock cars on. Put the street stocks on and see what happens. Had some fun racing during those races. Dominated by the likes of George Griffiths. And then Jacob Schneider showed up and made things quite interesting, what I remember. But it was still... No, that wasn't Griffiths. Griffiths was the IndyCar driver. Who? Ken Nelson? Nelson Jr.? I believe that's the name. George Griffith did not join us for Season 4 of this IndyCar series, and Micah Mixer has taken up the mantle as the king of the series in his time. Not on the track at the moment, not getting some practice yet. We got 9 minutes left in this practice session. 9 minutes to kill, 9 minutes to check on all of you. What's up, Aaron? Oh, no, David Nannon's hit the wall hard. And physics is taken over in a way that doesn't really make sense. We don't worry about that, though. David Nannon in a big wreck gets out of there A-OK. Unfortunate. Things you don't like to see. There are a lot of crashes that have hit the board. We see one right now with Marlo Duncan. Helicopter. That was, in fact, quite the helicopter moment. Good to see that. Yeah, no, the car's okay. Oh, good. Perfect. Matthew Bird has taken over the top spot now. 1:12.903 for Bird. We've got a helicopter and a Birdman. The Birdman is slow. Why is the Birdman slow? Matthias Marcomini will get by. Ooh, possibly starting a little bit of a battle here with Nias. Oh, and there it goes. Matthew Bird immediately bins it at the next corner into the gravel. And another car on the circuit. This is going to be quite the race from what it seems like. It's going to be a lot of bobbing and waving, a lot of dodging traffic. Here's Danny Ray on the track right now, trying to record a lap, see where he lines up on the board. And he will not get on the board anytime soon. He's going to need another lap or two. Here's Bob Gangler crossing the line. We'll see if he is able to improve his time. It appears that will not be the case this time around. So for him, it'll be a 1:07.089 as his best in the practice session. And folks, we make it. Ooh, Zach Lesenby snipes that second place spot by just 1,000th of a second. It's a 1:13.035 now. And forget all of that. James Nias takes the lead now with a 1:12.830. Oh, hold on to it, buddy. He does just that right on the inside of the curb. Holds on to it, keeps on rolling. James Nias now, your practice leader, will look to hold on to that for the qualifying session. But, of course, Micah Mixer has not hit the track, and when he does, it can be quite terrifying. Would not be surprised to see a couple outs pop up early in this race. Let's see, there is something in the officials channel, so let's have a look and see. Okay, James Nias has decided he's going to send it. Thankfully, Nias is right back and rolling. Good to see. Get these chats up. Apologies for that. Little blip on the radar. Happens. Happenstance. Your word of the day, I suppose. You can make it your word of the day if you want. That is Joe Nerton in pit lane. Here's Matthias Marcomini entering pit lane. There's Alex Jones down the straightaway. Right past pit lane. Still a ways to go. Let's get the track map up and rolling so we can see exactly where these drivers are as Alex Jones nearly bins it, but holds on. So we're at turn 2, now making our way around the hairpin, the first hairpin of the track. Jones right now in P6 in our session. Matthias Marcomini in P5, Nerton in 4th. Lesenby, Bird, and Nias, your top 3 in inverse order. Rumbling down the straightaway. Immediately coming to a stop there on the back-to-back 90-degree turns. It's going to be a sharp right-hander here. It curves down until another really sharp right-hander. This turn has claimed a lot of cars before, at least in endurance races. The open wheel folks seem to be having an easier time, but also a more open track will help with that. Nearly over-rotated that, but Jones able to hold on. As Matthew Bird takes a commanding lead now in the practice session with a 1:12.425. I don't think Jones will get the recorded time. I did see the tire dip into the grass, so I believe iRacing will count that as an off-track, and whether or not he beats his old lap is irrelevant. Our standing things is working properly this time around, so we'll get to see the flags fly as they need to. Last time around, the formatting was a little bit off, but this time it is exactly where it needs to be, which is good to see. Pollard up to 6th now in the session with a nice little time there. It's a 1:14, I believe. That is a 3:23. That is not bad at all. 1:14, 3:23. All right. Now 1:14, 5:05 here for Jones. Looking to improve on that as best he can. Some crashes have hit the board, but we're not going to observe the crashes yet. Don't need to. You can just keep focused on the cars on the track. The Indy Road Course. The first of 2 races that cap off the first half of the season. Jones riding right on top of the bump. The anti-cut. Oh, there goes Nias into the grass again. You have to deal with the anti-cut there, and you have to be careful as you go over it because you could lose control of the car very easily doing that. Still not able to crack past his best time. We'll check back in with Jones a little bit later. For now, actually we won't because the practice session is about to end in about 3 minutes' time. And a lot of the drivers in pit lane right now. Looks like Micah Mixer will not be hitting the track, so we will stay with James Nias. We'll go on board with Nias to see a bit of how the car is handling around the track. Full throttle as you go into this lighter tarmac section, using as much of the track as you have before slowing down big time. Oh, Duncan moves up to 4th in the session. Nice. Good to see. And Matthias Marcamini in 2nd place with a 1:12.469. Marcamini's been putting in work on this track, it looks like, and now has one of the best times in the practice session. Hopefully he's able to replicate that and make things interesting in qualifying. The favorite in qualifying will, of course, be Micah Mixer, who won 3 of 4 races heading into today. Unable to participate in the 4th race. Oh, no! Too much curb. Car got unsettled, and around it goes. Marcamini bins it, and his time in the practice session will come to a close. Matthew Bird capping off his practice session, a very successful one at that. A 1:12.425 as his best lap. We'll see him hold the crown for the best lap in the practice session. Maybe one more to cap off what has been a very successful run. Will it be faster? It will not. And Matthew Bird, I believe, will have one more lap and might have a go at it. Over the anti-cut. Oh, whoa, whoa! Whips it around trying to save it. Matthew Bird into the dirt. Possibly looking to ruin the track a little bit. Watch out! Does get out of Micah Mixer's way. And Mixer will get a little bit of practice time in. Nearly unsettles it over another anti-cut. You got to be careful with those. Those anti-cuts are really, really nasty. Matthew Bird immediately looks for a move on the inside. It's not available, and so will not get a chance at it. Mixer will let him go by as these two will likely head towards pit lane and bring this practice session to an end. We are on the Indy Road Course here for Week 5 of Season 4 of the IndyCar Racing Series. One more time around the track, these two will go, and we'll head to qualifying. That's a nice looking car, by the way. Gonna stay on the track and try to add on top at least the flying. The out lap is on the board. A slow lap time to be sure, but had to slow down for Matthew Bird to get out of the way. As the session now changing on over, we'll go to our schedule one last time to have a look at the races upcoming. Indy Oval will be our next race, Week 6. Before we head to the second half of the season, split up, of course, with the All-Star break. It's Talladega this time around for our funny little All-Star race. The Super Speedways strike again, and we'll see just how chaotic it is this time around. I will be present for that one. Mid-Ohio, Iowa Speedway, Detroit, Pocono, Barber, and Michigan wrap up our season. First driver on the track. Let's wait and see who will be first out there. It is going to be Joe Nerton that we'll get a look at, and the sky is getting darker already. And this is the dirt that Matthew Bird had kicked up earlier. Possibly a little bit of controversy there, kicking up dirt, kicking up the gravel when he doesn't really need to, but did in fact do so. That's a really interesting errand. Oh, that is way inside for Nerton. What? Okay. SDK is a little bit funky, it seems to be. We have Aaron Fontaine in the back. He is working on media work as well as helping in the back end. Joe Nerton, a little bit of an overextension on that turn. Won't quite get what he was looking for. It's really weird. To the flying lap for Joe Nerton. Let's get on board and have a look. See what he is seeing out there. A very cloudy sky here in Indianapolis. Around the 1-2, hard on the inside curve as he makes his way around turn 4. Has to scoop up just a little bit of gravel. Through the chicane, over the anti-cut, nice and easy. Makes his way to the right side of the track almost immediately. Slows down right at about the start of that curb. See the gears, he's going all the way down the gear list, down to second gear through this little snake section. A little bit of a dip into the grass that'll probably nullify this lap, but we'll have a couple more to work with. Next right-hander coming up nice and wide on entry, then crashes in over the anti-cut quite viciously, actually. And ends up with a spin. And this lap goes in the bin. Next driver up will be Matthias Marcumini. And that is a track cut on the board. I think that's Joe Nerton who has it. That is Joe Nerton on the track cut. We'll see that flag go away. We'll put the flags away for now. Not necessary for the moment. Micah Mixer gets the first time on the board. Micah Mixer puts up a 1:13.802. Nice. Will get second after Lesenby takes third. Matthias Marcumini in third now. Now it's taken by Marlo Duncan. So we'll watch on for now with Micah Mixer, currently the favorite for the season, even after losing out on the fourth race and losing that first place position. Nick Collier now in fourth as well. Mixer looping around will now have his way towards the end of the lap. A little bit of a dip into the grass could nullify the lap. We will see if the lap time changes on the board. This does look faster than his first flying lap. And we'll see if the time will be adjusted. Nice. Joe Nerton nearly takes pole position away. Mixer's lap time will not change, and so he'll go again as Nias will take the lead, and Zach Lesenby in second will overtake Micah Mixer. Marcumini now up to fifth. We've got quite a few good lap times on the board now. We'll watch on with Lesenby as he'll look to improve his lap time. We do, of course, have to keep an eye on Micah Mixer's time. Man, the quality of these races from these drivers has been just excellent. These guys have been putting up some great laps. Say Joe Nerton is calling it a session. David Madden will get up to ninth with Alex Jones in eighth. Couple more turns here for Lesenby to look to try and add on top of an already impressive run here in qualifying. Oh, that camera's really stuttery. It does not like tight turns like that. We're going to put that away. No, thank you. Apologies for that. Oh, that could have been an off track. We will see if that will count against Lesenby. Does improve his lap time. It does not count against him, but he doesn't improve it by much. Naya's still leading by half a second, and it looks like with Micah Mixer, his last lap time didn't do enough either. Still down by about half a second. Whoa, whoa, nearly lost it going through the first chicane. Gets through it okay. A scary moment there for Micah Mixer as his car nearly gets unsettled. Matthew Bird puts up an 11th. Not bad to start. That's the first flying lap for Matthew Bird. All the way to the outside before crashing in to get a little sniff of the dirt. And hard to the inside goes Mixer. Likely to bring his qualifying session to an end. And does get the lead and has pole position at the moment. A 1:13.107 is his for now. And of course, with Matthew Bird on the track as well as James Nias, these drivers have both shown they can hit the 112s. And this is a perfect time to do it. Disrupt what has been almost a formality. It will not be Nias, though, as he ends up off the track. Matthew Bird improving his lap time. He's up to 6 at the moment, but has not cracked the 113 yet in qualifying. A little bit of a stutter there. Our apologies for that, but we seem to be okay. So for now, your best driver, your best lap belongs to Micah Mixer. A little bit of a blink. He's back. Matthew Bird. 4 more corners to go. Gets past the chicane nice and easy. Hard right-hander. A little bit of a dip into the lighter tarmac. Should be seen as fine. Extends all the way out to crash in for this next right-hander. Whoa, hold on to it, buddy. He does. That may cost him. He's going to go for it and will have one more lap to work with if he wants to take it. Matthew Bird flying to the line. Stays on the outside. It looks like he wants one more go. He gets up to 3rd. And will slow the car down and bring this qualifying session to a close. And a lot of drivers getting close, but unable to crack the Mixer code. Last driver up here is Bob Gangwer. We'll have a look to see if there's other drivers out there. We got Alex Jones, currently in 9th, looking to improve. Past the line, and Jones will not move up. So Bob Gangwer will be our final driver on the board. Hard on the outside goes Gangwer, trying to get out from last place. Although at the moment, Danny Ray will be in the back of the traffic. And it appears that it will be pit lane as the destination for Gangwer. He'll bring his qualifying session to an end. It's Micah Mixer who will get pole position and the pole point. The sole point you can get in the qualifying session here for Season 4. With 20 seconds to go, we will head to our grid. Quick look at our standings before we do that, though. It's Marlo Duncan in the lead after Micah Mixer missed out on Week 4's race. Mixer now in 2nd with Alex Jones right behind him. That gap will extend by 1 point now that the qualifying session is done. Nick Polliard in 4th, Aaron Fontaine 5th, Salo 6th, Nerton 7th, Nias in 8th, Matthias Marcomini in 9th, Spencer Torrance in 10th. Following that, it's Roberts, Deckard, Gangwer, Lesenby, Miller, Russell, Mullins, Ray, Hensley, Nannon for 11 to 20, Zhao, Saucier, Chastain for 21 through 23. As we head to the track, we have a look at our grid. It is Micah Mixer who will get pole position. James Nias will be next to him on the first row. Matthew Bird with a great showing his first time around. Zach Lesenby will be right beside him for thousandths of a second, separating those drivers. Joe Nerton and Matthias Marcomini will be on row 3. Those drivers very close together. It's Marlo Duncan and Nick Polliard on row 4. For row 5, it's Alex Jones and David Nannon. Welcome in, David Nannon. Good to see you yet again. Bob Gangler will have Danny Ray beside him in row 6. It will throw Joey Kuba on the board. Kuba will be eyes in the sky for this race and will not need to worry about his placement on the grid. As we go on to the track right now, Nias is the furthest up driver on the board, and as you can see, we are not going to do a rolling start. This is standing start territory. Nias will blip on out of here for a bit, so we'll go to Lesenby for the meantime. I believe that's Polliard who was registered in. That is Polliard in 8th position. Waiting on Mixer and Ray to hit the track. You can see Danny Ray not next to Gangler at the moment. Mixer is on the board. The timer is on. Oh no, Mixer's at a blink, and Mixer does come back in time. And the lights go. We are green flag racing. Matthew Bird, what a start for Bird. Immediately gets right past Mixer, who had some trouble on the start after blinking for a moment. May have messed up his timing. And Matthew Bird will have the lead heading into turn 1 with Nias right behind. A little further back, we'll keep an eye on the traffic. Nerton will give room to the inside for Jones to work with. And as we go on through, the lead currently with Bird. Micah Mixer now has to fight through the traffic. Side by side with Duncan. Duncan does actually get in front. Will not need to worry about a collision just yet, but Mixer will have the overspeed and has the preferred line on the outside. Duncan trying to squeeze as hard as she can, but Mixer will get the advantage heading into the next right-hander. Micah Mixer already making gains on the track. Danny Ray not on the track at the moment and may have bowed out. Would lose out on those extra points to stay ahead of Fontaine if that is the case. As the gap's starting to certify themselves, we'll move up to the front. Matthew Bird with pressure on it from Nias. Nias closing the gap quite a bit. And Mixer's had a crash, I believe. No, it's just a bit of a slowdown. Jones will try to get by Mixer. Not quite able to do so yet. The back and forth between Bird and Nias goes on. Nias now within a 10th of a second on the outside. Forces Bird to the anti-cut. Giving room to the inside is Bird. The two of them staying as respectful as can be. Bird will have the advantage for now. Still side by side right now. Quite the distance as Nias gets stuck on the wrong side of the chicane and loses some precious speed. Duncan will have Mixer in the mirror. Trying to squeeze yet again, but squeeze respectfully, but Mixer able to get past Marlo Duncan. And we'll move on up to third. Nearly getting into the back end of Bird. Nias does clip the back end and loses half his wing. Possibly not ready for how much Bird was checking up, and that's going to spell disaster for Nias, as the front wing is crucial on these cars during these road courses. Mixer nearly lost it there. You saw his car sort of swivel out of control. And now a big-time problem here for James Nias, having lost half his front wing. Mixer is going to get an easy time to get past. As Alex Jones now under pressure from Polliard, who will get that 8th position as they will head to turn 1. Jones will get behind Polliard. A bit of a weave there from, that looks to be Lesenby in front. We'll go back to the battle for second. Nias with half a wing missing, trying to defend against Mixer. Is reading Mixer quite well. But Mixer should have no problem getting by on the inside and is going to go for the move. Micah Mixer to the inside will get up to P2 with Nias missing half a wing on the front. Some big-time trouble there for James Nias. It didn't show up on the board, so unfortunately we don't have a replay for you. But we do know is that at the moment, Danny Ray not on the track. Micah Mixer closing in on Matthew Bird. Bird electing to go on a black walls with Micah Mixer on the red walls to get that extra grip. The thing with the tires is you sacrifice grip for longevity. That is your trade-off no matter what direction you go, but these drivers may be looking for a different kind of strategy. Matthew Bird, it looks like he's going to try to hold out as long as he can, expecting rain late, whereas a lot of these drivers maybe hoping that the rain comes a little bit sooner, but with the sun shining bright on the track, it looks like the former could be the case as positions continue to be shuffled as David Nadden is off the track. Will back his way out of the way of the rest of the field, and looks like Lesenby came with. We'll have a look at both of these crashes. We'll start first with Lesenby as Nadden having a bit of a crab walk here. Nadden behind Nerton. This is Lesenby behind Nerton in this case. Lesenby just gets a little bit caught out of position, ends up in the back end of Nerton and stuck in a spin. He's able to hold on to it okay. And the rejoin catches Nadden is what happens. We'll get another look at Nadden's perspective here. So it goes through the turn. You can see the spinning Lesenby and Nerton. All right, this is David Nadden who just gets caught on a rejoin from Lesenby. And Nadden ends up with the worst of it, stuck in a crab walk as he'll make his way to pit lane. Mixer, in the meantime, getting by Matthew Bird. A little bit of a weave as well to try and keep Bird away. Micah Mixer now in the lead here on lap number 5. As David Nadden will need to head to pit lane in order to get the car sorted. As Lesenby will also be accompanying him in pit lane. Your 2 drivers listed as out for this race. Joey Kuba, eyes in the sky for today. In an administrative position, has always been one of the Prodigy Racing Association's longest tenured stewards. Continues to do so today. Appreciate all the work he does up in the sky while I can focus in on the race at hand. And Danny Ray, who was in the practice session but did not qualify and has not registered a lap on the board, and I believe will miss out on points if that is the case. I'm not sure if Danny Ray knows that. Has not registered for LPP. That is a man. There is a man missing a wing back there. There is a man missing a wing back there, and it's James Nias still out there with a half-broken wing. And now Marlo Duncan will get the chance to go on by. Nias down to 4th position and loses the other half of the wing and gets hit in the back by Marcomini, and now he's missing a wing. A double checkup leads to double disaster for Nias and Marcomini, as Nias has now lost the structural integrity of that rear wing as well. A disaster for both of these drivers. Marcomini will get on by, but he's missing that whole front wing, and that could spell problems for him as well. As we'll get an on-board look at the crash. We'll go to Marcomini's perspective here. You can see the battle between Duncan and Nias in front. At this point, Nias has to give up the position to Duncan. And the double checkup, Duncan not as fast as both drivers were anticipating. And as a result of the double clatter, Marcomini gets into the back of Nias, who in turn ends up hitting Marlo Duncan. With Marcomini losing speed, it's going to allow Joe Nerton a chance to try and go on by. Has to go onto the grass, try to go to the outside, and clatters into the side of Marcomini's car. The two of them get out of it okay, but potentially a little bit more than needed to be done, as Nerton chose the riskier path going to the outside against a car with a front wing that is gone. Works out as one of the better outcomes, but could have been much, much worse. All the way out goes Nerton. For now, in fourth position, the main battle taking place is this battle for fourth. Marcumini and Pollard part of this fray. Marcumini, of course, missing that front wing, will have some trouble keeping up. And the field at the moment having trouble keeping up with Micah Mixer. Back on the road, course dominance was showing a true display of it during Road America this season. And is looking to do much of the same this time around as Nias ends up in an incident and does seem to be okay. Car now repaired. He's back out and about. And there he goes into the draft. And does not stay out of the wall. The rear wing does get down. Is this Schrodinger's wing where it both is and isn't damaged at the same time? As Nias will elect to go on the tarmac road away on the outside. And it looks like he's going to park the car in a more comical fashion and head on out. Take the tow and likely exit the session for the day. Marcumini in the pits to repair that front wing damage. As we are on lap 8, and Micah Mixer has built up a 3.5-second lead on Matthew Bird. A little bit of a blip, and does return to the track, and a blip again. So we'll go to a different part of the track. We'll go to Matthew Bird, as we just saw Mixer return to the track. Had a crash on the board for Bob Gengwer, who I believe was sent right to the pits. Is there trouble? Matthew Bird was gaining quite a bit of time there on that turn. Not sure where that time came from, but since then has returned to Mixer's pocket. Although now the gap down to 3.5. Matthew Bird definitely looking to threaten Micah Mixer here on the track. James Nias still in pit lane at the moment, has not returned to the track. A little bit of that clip of the dirt, as is welcome, I do believe, by the track regulations. Not sure. Joe Nerton ended up off the track. Joe Nerton right now in fourth position, holding on pretty smoothly to that fourth place as well. So we'll go on board as Matthew Bird had a bit of a blink turn. Quarter of the way through this race, it is Micah Mixer with a commanding lead yet again. Not as dominant as Road America, but still a strong lead all the same. 4.5 seconds to Matthew Bird. Joe Nerton a little bit wide out of this turn. Not quite where you want to put that car, but still ends up quite okay. Still no sign of Danny Ray on the track. David Nannon has registered as out for this race. Bit of a hiccup there for Joe Nerton, but he does hold on to it. Nannon's having a blink. Of course, for these races, some of these would not be possible without the work of plenty of the groups and companies that have helped out the Prodigy Racing Association. Rev Limit Workshop being one of them. Thomas Gooden does great work, especially with the promotional material. Sim Racer Hub, the home of all the standings available for the Prodigy Racing Association. They've been immensely helpful in keeping things very organized, in tracking all the stats and whatnot. Vision Corsa, of course, the namesake of this series, led by Daniel Borger-Pepping. Thank you for all the work that you have done for the Prodigy Racing Association. Of course, Grid Finder, a great partnership has been found with the Prodigy Racing Association and Grid Finder, which has resulted in some big events that are upcoming in the Prodigy Racing Association. And those should be some good fun. You have HSW as well, who has put in some good work on their end of the world for members of the PRA. They demanded I put my logo on. I did not ask to do this. But of course, it is an honor that these people want to recognize me as a core part. And of course, it is the Penguin, as unfortunately we lost a member of the Prodigy Racing Association, especially in the IndyCar series and Sports Car series. So they are honored with a Penguin throughout the course of this season. A little bit of a wobble there for Micah Mixer as we return to the race. And of course, the Prodigy Racing Association in itself, a big help on my part as well for all the work that they've done for me in giving me a space to do something that I love to do most in a pretty fun fashion. Do I know everything there is to know about it? No, I'm not a motor. Fun fact, I'm not a motorsports guy. I'm a hockey guy. Fun fact. Sorry for the blip. We'll get that sorted in a moment. You thought that lap... Wait, hold on. Okay. Update. Micah thought his pole position lap was terrible. Micah. Okay, all right. To be fair. To be as fair to Micah as we can be. It was not his fastest lap. He had 112s in the practice session. It's a bit rude, perhaps. That's James Nias getting by Zach Lesenby. Trying to get some laps back. We'll cut in front of Lesenby. With those Whoa! Nias is off to Narnia. Okay. Rejoins the circuit about 12 light years ahead of where he should. Did he not get a track cut for that? He did not get a track cut for that. There is another driver who's off. That is David Nannon, who has gone off into the ether. Nannon trying to be a good sport and let the lead lap drivers by. I believe this is Matthew Bird, and that is the case. Matthew Bird now 7 seconds behind Mixer. Mixer just putting down some scorchers on the red walls. Yeah, this guy right here. This guy. Talking about, oh, that lap was terrible. It was a terrible pole lap. You got pole position. Shut up. All fun and games, of course. You know, these drivers have their own way of looking at these laps, and we appreciate them all the same. I think someone's had a crash. Someone had a crash? I think someone had a crash. I think Joe Nerton had some trouble. He did register on the crash board, so we will have a look and see what happened to him to lead to this incident. Why is this on the board? Too much on the gas to get out of the turn. Whips it around trying to correct it. And into the grass. Thankfully is okay, as Nick Pollard will make his way to pit lane for our first pit stop of the race. First pit stop that seems to be intentional. I don't think this car is damaged in any way. Nope, that is a planned pit stop for Nick Pollard. No flags out either. We did. Oh my God, we did not get the flag out the entire time. So I don't know if he got a track cut. James Nias probably did get a track cut because he should. But I didn't see it because I had the flags off. Oh, that is Micah Mixer diving into pit lane as soon as he can. His first pit stop of the race. So Matthew Bird will get the lead. No, he won't. He will dive into pit lane as well. So it's a fuel stop for both drivers. The top three all in pit lane at the moment. Little bit of a wobble there for Mark Camini. The game audio is really quiet, it looks like. But then, of course, when we do something like this, yeah, it's pretty loud. I'd say that's pretty loud. I think we should be in a good spot. I think we'll bump them up a couple decibels. Let's go to 6. Let's go to 12. This should be pretty good. Will Mark Camini be staying on the track is our next question. Yes. We'll move on up to 3rd at the moment, getting past Marlo Duncan, who is now exiting pit lane. So far, pretty much the only thing that has stopped Micah Mixer from having a perfect season is, Matthew Bird! Matthew Bird's had a crash and is kicking up some gravel, and that car is not staying straight. What happened here? Got another crash on the board with Alex Jones. We're first going to have a look at Matthew Bird onto the red walls. And over rotates on entry and fishtails his way out of there. Next crash on the board was Alex Jones here. Just lost it. I'm not exactly sure on that one. That's an interesting one. Happened again, and our last one on the board will be Joe Nerton. So Joe Nerton with Nias in front has to check up. The lockup. You can see the lockup. There's a bit of tire smoke going on in the back. And as you lock up those wheels, it does not end well for you. So Micah Mixer now 19-second gap. And it seems to be getting a little bit longer as Marlo Duncan has a little bit of trouble out of turn 2. We'll now have Matthew Bird behind. We are 1 hour into our coverage of today's event. As Marlo Duncan will get on by some of the lap traffic, trying to catch on up with Micah Mixer in pit lane. What exactly happened here? I do see repairs are on the board for... Oh, it's a black flag against Micah Mixer. Aaron, if you've got info on that black flag, please tell me, because this is about to make this race so much more interesting. Matthias Marcomini is going to take the lead on a black flag against Micah Mixer. And Marlo Duncan, as well as Matthew Bird, will also go on by. David Nannon's got himself the meatball flag, as it's known. He needs repairs. Currently, the black flag marker has not traveled down the standings. It has been cleared. It looks like a drive-through for Micah Mixer, which on this track is pretty brutal, but he will be back on the track now in 4th position. It's Matthias Marcomini in the lead. Marlo Duncan in 2nd, and Matthew Bird in 3rd. Mixer now on the black walls. So the interesting strategy that we're going on here, I believe it was that Micah Mixer using the red walls to gain as much of a gap against the field as possible, so that when he has to go back onto black walls, he won't lose as much grasp on the race as he did before. This black flag throws a wrench into the whole system. Assuming a speeding, that would make sense to me as well. Likely a speeding in pit exit. We'll have to get confirmation on that a little later on. Unfortunately, Kuba not available to give us the information that we may so desire. And that is okay. Kuba, of course, already putting in a lot of work to help with the administrative effects of this race. A race that is about to get way, way more interesting as the first specks of rain are hitting the track. The sun shower has begun. We've got rain here on the Indy Road Course. The track currently in a stage of very lightly wet, but already these drivers having some trouble staying on the track. And Marlo Duncan, with pressure on her, will need to be very careful as she takes these next turns. Gets through that one okay. So now the question is, how much do you want to risk it on the dry tire? Unfortunately, an ad break has struck the PRA channel. For those of you on the personal stream, hello. And for those of you who have subscribed to the Prodigy Racing Association Twitch channel, we thank you all very, very much for your continued support of the Prodigy Racing Association. So Marlo Duncan trying to hold off Matthew Bird, who seems to be having a better time here in the rain. Wanted to go to the outside. Duncan shuts the door. Will go to the inside. Careful around the corner. Bird's got the advantage for now, and Duncan has to back out of the turn as Bird gets the advantage around the chicane. It was a crossing the pit exit line. So an illegal exit of pit lane sees Micah Mixer eat the black flag in a drive-through. That forces him back to fourth position, but is gaining on Duncan and company. Unfortunately, we're having quite a bit of stutters. Went sideways on the exit of the pits. Oh, no. Oh, it's worse. Not only did he cross over the line when it was too early, he didn't even really have a choice. He got sent that way. But, of course, you need to be in control of your car, and if part of what happens in your car is you lose control, you end up across the line, you eat the penalty. As there is Bob Gangwer as lap traffic that Bird and Duncan will get by. But Mark Hamini, man, great run so far. Halfway through this race, still on the black walls. Still holding on pretty well. Ad break wrapping up in a minute. David Nana in pit lane will lose the position to Alex Jones. Uh-oh, what happened here? A little bit of trouble there for Matthew Bird. Has to deal with the lap traffic, because that's David Nannon giving him a little bit of trouble. Ad break coming to a close. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for going through the ad break and supporting the Prodigy Racing Association in the best way that you can. Very much appreciated on all fronts. A little bit of an update. Micah Mixer with a black flag for crossing the pit exit line. Ended up going sideways on pit exit and crossed the line early as a result. And after that, the rain has come down and the track is getting wet across the board. And Matthias Marcomini will head to pit lane, and the wet tires are on their way onto the car. He's going to risk it a little bit, get as much speed as he can before slowing down, and gets good control of the car before making his way to pit lane. Matthew Bird will stay out for now. He thinks he's got another lap on these tires. Micah Mixer will be close behind as Marlo Duncan will join Mark Hamini in the pits. Matthew Bird Main objective at the moment is to keep the gap to Mixer as high as you can. This is not the pit exit area. Likely to see another couple drivers make their way to pit lane and make changes to the tire compound. And that will not be the case for the two drivers that are ahead of Matthew Bird. Unless I don't know where the pit entry is. I don't know where the pit entry is. Are we past it? Oh, there we go. Oh, nope, it's coming up. He will stay out. Mixer will head in. Matthew Bird, he seems comfortable right now, but the rain will continue to fall, and the track will get wetter. You can see the spray already increasing behind Matthew Bird's car. So choosing to risk it for the biscuit here is Matthew Bird, as he's under the belief that you need to be bold to beat them, beat the best of the series. All right, now Micah Mixer in pit lane has gone on in to change the tires. Matthew Bird thinks these can hold up another little while. We will get to it. Watch and see. You can see he's already wobbling a little bit. A little bit of a blip. He's back. And there's the lockup because there's just no traction there on the left side. And likely this will see Matthew Bird head to pit lane as well. He's picked up a pretty sizable lead. Joe Nurton behind about 18 seconds now, but Mixer climbing up the ranks as Mark Bubini ends up in a bit of a crash. We'll lose out. This has to be the pit entry. Yeah, it has to be pit entry for Matthew Bird. You can see the car is not stable. He is staying out there. A massive risk being taken by Matthew Bird, as he thinks he can hold off the traffic a little longer. Still very lightly wet, but it's only going to get worse. It already looks like it's pretty bad for Bird. He's barely holding on to it for some of these corners. So I feel like it'd be in his best interest to go to the pit lane at this point, because this car, he's having trouble controlling it, and the racing line is starting to fade away. We're headed to the wet line now. And then again, it's another near spin out. And there he goes! Matthew Bird ends up off the track! The risk ends up biting him in the back end, losing speed drastically. Gets back on and holds on to the lead, but has lost 12 seconds of that lead. And Matthew Bird may be regretting staying out for that extra lap. Still, that car is wobbly. This has to be pit. You gotta pit on this lap. And he goes around again. Nurton now within 3. And this means Micah Mixer's right on top of the leader. A blip. He does return. Matthew Bird risked it, but maybe he risked it a little too much. This has to be destined for pit lane. Finally, mercifully, the stint will end. Matthew Bird may be kicking himself after that. Went a little bit too far with the red walls. Now goes into pit lane, and Joe Nurton will get the lead. He's on the red walls too. You're kidding me. These drivers are mental. Joe Nurton out on the red walls, trying to hold off Micah Mixer as best he can. But to what end? Has a gap. 10.5 right now, according to iOverlay, which the gap on iRacing TV does not agree. Oh, no, Nurton! There's the spin. And again, these drivers demanding to stay out on the red walls, on the dry tire. It's brave, but I think it's... It kind of starts to cross the line between bravery and stupidity. Stupidity's not the word. It's not the word. That's not correct. I apologize for that. That's not correct at all. These drivers aren't making a stupid decision by trying to risk it with the red walls. They're trying to, they have to risk it, they think. And sometimes the risk just doesn't pay off. And we're seeing a prime example of that here with Nerton, who is likely going to pit lane and will have to concede the lead to Micah Mixer at this point. Both Nerton and Bird trying their hardest to hold off Micah Mixer as the road gets damp, but unfortunately not able to really hold the gap. Mixer will be ahead now with the white walls after only being down a couple seconds to the leader. And a little bit of a wall clatter there from Bob Gangwer. Mixer now in the lead. And unfortunately, the driver who maybe has the best chance at it, Marlo Duncan, hasn't had the best of runs. Will move up to third here, passing Joe Nerton in the pits, but Mixer with a blink is back. It's just been a rough go for Marla Duncan, it so seems to be. A lot of the pace we saw from her in season 3, some of it has gone away, but still putting up very impressive results nonetheless. And you don't exactly lead a series by being by having a disappointing season. Perhaps disappointing by her standards, but still in the lead at the moment in the series, although Micah Mixer is threatening to take that away. Whoa! That's a big slide from Mixer and nearly took out Pollard. It does hold on to it. And Matthew Bird ends up in a crash again, and that one is devastating. That car is leaking fluid. Ends up backing into the wall and damaging the rear wing, and that is going to be a tow. We're going to go on board to get a look at what happened here to Matthew Bird on the outlap here. Clipped the grass on the chicane, held onto it, but then heading to the curb, past the chicane, slams into the wall at full speed, and that car is destroyed. A black flag is out as well. It looks to be against Joe Nerton. Aaron, if you could figure out what happened to Joe Nerton, that'd be very appreciated. My guess is pit lane. I don't remember seeing Joe Nerton go into the pits, but very possible. Mixer right now in a commanding lead. 12.5 seconds to Mark Kubini. And Marla Duncan will have to slow down with a track cut on her name. We'll clear the board. Right now it's on Pollard. So who is the black flag on? Because right now it's been cleared. It's fully possible that that black flag was an error. Something has happened. Matthew Bird has left the session. It's on Bird. What did Bird get a black for? I could believe it. With him having to fall down the standings. Don't know. That's fair. I don't exactly see what would have happened to cause a black flag there. Like, I could see a meatball maybe, but if we have it was just a crash. I don't think there was a penalty associated with it. My best guess is pit lane speeding. Bird now out of the race as he elects to call it a day after a good start that slowly caved in on itself. Probably pit exit line again. Fair enough. Just an unfortunate set of circumstances for Matthew Bird, and unfortunately a massive error ruins the race. With 13 to go, Matthew Bird calls it a day. He will likely take home 11th. No, I think it'll be 10th. So as we go back to the leader, it is, of course, Micah Mixer. just tearing it up this season. A 17-second gap to Marcamini. Allegedly, the only way that you could really stop this man is with the caster curse. And even then, he was lapping the entire field at Road America. I'm just saying. Sitting at about 15 minutes left in this race with 12 laps to go at about a minute 13 per lap. Probably a minute 15 more. Trying to crunch some numbers in my head. "15 minutes is actually almost bang on." Oh, a slide there from Mixer again. It's that same corner we've seen him slide out before, but he holds on to it. Pollard ends up on the board with a crash, currently in 6th position. Mixer taking his time around the track. And you can understand why a 20-second gap to Marcamini. Five drivers on the lead lap. You can hear the coasting that he's doing throughout this race. The lifting coast, as it's known. An endurance race strategy to save on fuel, save on tire wear just a little bit. But it's primarily the fuel saving, something that Micah Mixer has been superb at throughout his time. Ran out of fuel at the line a couple times this season. This man has been on a tear and will head to pit lane likely for the final time this race. A top up of fuel and one last stint to claim victory. Matthew Bird now slotting into 10th position on the board as the rain continues to come down. So Marcamini, in the meantime, will have the lead, but that lead currently only 17 seconds to Marcamini, maybe 18. I think it's 18 seconds, getting through some lap traffic. And Marcamini will likely need to head to pits as well for the fuel. A little bit of a stutter there. Our apologies. As likely heading to pits is Marcamini. And no, he will stay out there for another lap or so. Not sure if he has the fuel to make it all the way around for the rest of the race. We'll see. Possible. Micah Mixer with some lap traffic in front. It's Nick Pollard at the moment who stands in front of him. Zach Lesenby back in the fray. And you can see the puddles starting to form on the track. It is wet here on the Indy road course. The spray going everywhere. Nias just trying to find a lane to see. Oh, heads up Pollard. Oh, nearly ends up collecting Nias. And did he end up making contact? It appears not. Pollard ends up okay. which is good to see. Mixer now within a second, just about. Why is Lesenby in the pits? Lesenby went to pit lane instead of staying on the track. Duncan trying to defend against the likes of Mixer. No over-under move this time, with that inside line being soaking wet. Tries to make a move on Duncan. Side by side, but can't quite get past her. Goes to the inside and hits the back end. Only a small tap as they'll go on by side. A little bit of contact, but nothing to write home about, perhaps. We'll see if anything else comes of it. Should be able to get a look at that. I believe I saved the replay in time as Duncan will head to pit lane. Let's have a look. That's turn one. So we are gonna, oh, that's not what we wanted. That is not what we wanted at all. That we have broken it. We broke it. Apologies for that as we were trying to get a look at the incident in question. I don't believe we're going to get a chance to. No, because at this point, Marcamini in the lead with Mixer already ahead. Well, the gap for Nerton having a bit of a break. Okay. Nerton now ahead of Duncan. 2,000 seconds? What's going on here? I think I really messed up iRacing TV with that. Yeah, I did. But it's settling down now. So Lesenby in fifth now with the exit out of pit lane. Micah Mixer and Lesenby with a blink. Mixer within 8 seconds of Marcamini. Could look to hold him off here. This just actually got a little bit interesting here. So Mixer, 6-second gap on iOverlay, 8 seconds on iRacing TV. Oh, nearly lost it in that chicane, and if you lose it there, that car is headed straight for the bin. But it keeps it on the track as the puddles are forming big time. Marcamini really taking his time around the track, and it could cost him here as the gap now at 6.5. Mixer's gonna get a run at him if he can't pick up the pace. The gap already down to 4.5. Marcamini with 6 laps to go will be fighting for his life soon enough. And the gap already falling further out of turn 2. I think it's only going to get worse as the laps continue. Marcamini doing all he can to hold on. Nearly loses it in the chicane. Micah Mixer not too far behind. 2.5 already is the gap. Little bit of a wobble here for Mixer. Touches the grass but holds on. We've hit 10 o'clock, so things are going to have to quiet down just a little bit. But Micah Mixer should get a good chance at this. Nearly touches the wall, but he stays off of it for now. Holds onto it with a second gap to work with. The gap continuing to fall. Mark Camini's got pressure on him. Mixer's going to go for the move right away. Looks to the outside here as they cross the line with 5 laps to go. Mixer's got the lead. Mark Camini's still there on the inside, but is backing out. And Micah Mixer, clipped in the back end by Mark Camini. Mark Camini ends up with a collision on the Mixer, but it seems there will be no damage registered on the car. As we'll get another look at it right in front of us, Mark Camini. Let's have a look and see. You can hear Mixer on the left side. Now you see him. Into turn 1. Tried to slow it down. I think just didn't find the grip. Completely missed the corner. And Mixer, I think, gets away with it. No, that side pod is damaged bad. You can see the hole it's got. But Mark Camini gets it so much worse. The entire front wing is gone. And I think that means that Mark Camini's chance at a win are gone. And the tires look out of alignment, too. The wheels, I think, are not on right. So long as a hole in the side pod won't destroy your aero too much, I think Mixer will have an easy time completing these 4 laps. Past turn 1. Just completely missing the corner is right, Aaron. And a little bit of a blink, so Joe Nerton will take up the second place spot. Hard over the anti-cut is Mixer, but it's a good section of it. And there's so much spray, dude. There's so much spray. Aaron, how much do you know about how much losing the side pod would ruin your aero, or just your car in general? How bad is it? Mixer is obviously putting on a display of not that bad, but in general, what would a driver expect to feel as a difference between without a hole in a side pod? I can't imagine you'd lose much. That's fair, I suppose. It's just there's a hole in the car. I feel like there'd be more to it than that. I mean, it's not as much as a front wing. I figured that much, but you really wouldn't lose anything? Or like much of anything? The rain is still coming down. And it looks like it's going to be raining the whole rest of the way. Hard over the anti-cut. Whoa! Oh, Mixer is flirting with fire right now. He's holding on to it, but man. Oh, Mixer's getting frisky with it. That's fair. That's fair, Aaron. I just know you would have more knowledge in this than I would. Given the last time I drove this car was season 2. On an oval race where I completely nuked someone's race under caution. True story. Or was Suzuka the last race that I did? I don't fully remember. Two laps left. Micah Mixer with a commanding lead. Nerton is matching him on the lap times, but matching's not enough in this case. Needed to be way, 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 way faster. And kind of needed that. Oh, Mixer off the track. We'll need to eat the track cut here. Has to use the shortcut. The blink. Returns. Again, is brutally hard over this anti-cut. IndyCar Series has never raced Suzuka. Scuba? Scuba circuit. It was Scuba. Thank you. So Micah Mixer still with the track cut. Now has cleared. Didn't lose any time, actually. That's kind of ridiculous. Little bit of a slide there as Nerton, that gap is broken. But yeah, no, I did race at Scuba in which Brad Morath had a busted side hole because I punched it open with my car because I'm terrible at controlling those things. I was way used to GT3 at the time. And now I just don't sim race. Enough about my time. Let's get back to Indy. It's white flag racing on the Indy road course. Mark Camini right now has the best battle on the board, trying to catch up to Joe Nerton. Oh, no! Mark Camini ends up off the track, and the battle for second seems to be over as Nerton watching his Mark Camini does a couple donuts. And we'll go back to Mixer here at the front. Careful over the anti-cut, he is. Five more turns to go. Micah Mixer with a busted open side pod ends up getting the better end of a collision with Mark Camini. After both drivers completely blow the corner, it doesn't cost him in the end. Micah Mixer with 2 more to go. Past the right-hander. Has a little bit of lap traffic in front and will take his time getting around the circuit. Micah Mixer, after missing the last oval race, the Milwaukee Mile, he had to be absent, returns with a vengeance. The Indy road course belongs to Micah Mixer. Afterwards, it'll be Joe Nerton now trying to hold off Mark Camini, which should be nice and easy for him. Still a ways to go before he can call this race done. Three more corners to go here for Joe Nerton. But Mark Camini a ways back, we will call it pretty much once Duncan crosses the line. Get to see if we have any information on the board. And that will do it for us today. Micah Mixer, oh God, oh, Matthias avoids the collision. That'll do it for us today. Micah Mixer, your winner, will move up the standings a little further. I believe Marlo Duncan has done enough to hold him off for now. But Mixer, with pole position in qualifying and a commanding victory on the track, will take the win today. We will then head to our second half of the Indy section of the schedule. It's the Indy Oval coming up next week, our first race of the month of April. And that will conclude our first half of the season. Thank you very much for joining us here for the PRA Vision Corsa IndyCar Series. The first half about to come to a close. It's the Indy Oval next week. We will see you then.